On January 3, 2017, 32-year-old Claire Dawson set out on what was meant to be a relaxing solo hike through the snow-covered mountains near her home in western Montana. The Bitterroot Wilderness is a popular destination for skiers and snowshoers, known for its pristine beauty and secluded trails. But this year, it was also concealing a secret that would shock the entire state. Claire, an experienced hiker, had planned to spend the day exploring the vast expanse of the Bitterroot Range. She packed some sandwiches, water, and a thermos of hot cocoa, and drove to the trailhead just outside the small town of Hamilton. As the sun rose, she laced up her snowshoes and headed into the crisp mountain air. Eager to find a secluded spot for a picnic lunch and maybe even do some cross-country skiing. But as the hours passed and the temperature dropped, nobody saw Claire emerge from the snowy wilderness. Her car remained parked at the trailhead, and her phone went straight to voicemail when tried. It was unlike Claire to disappear without telling someone where she was going or how long she'd be gone. Her family knew something was wrong. As dusk settled over the Bitterroot Mountains, search crews were called in. Hundreds of people joined the hunt, braving the harsh elements and combing through the thick undergrowth. Helicopters clattered overhead, their searchlights piercing the darkness. But despite the massive effort, there was still no sign of Claire. By nightfall, only more questions. Where could she be? Had she slipped and fallen somewhere, injured but conscious? Or had something more sinister befallen her? The coming days brought no answers, only frustration as searchers scoured the area and found nothing. With each passing hour, hope dwindled, turning to despair. Was Claire Dawson truly gone forever? Was she still out there somewhere, lost and afraid? The following weeks, the search for Claire continued, but with little success. The weather conditions made it difficult to locate anything, and eventually, the teams had to be called off. Despite the setbacks, Claire's family refused to give up hope. They organized their own search parties and never stopped calling her name in the wilderness, hoping against hope that she would answer. For them, the absence of answers was unbearable. Why did Claire disappear? What had happened to her? These questions echoed in their minds, day and night. But as time went on, the media attention faded, and with it, so did the public's focus on Claire's case. 6 long years passed since Claire vanished on that fateful hike. The memory of her disappearance still vivid in the minds of her loved ones. The pain of not knowing what happened to her still raw. Year after year, her family held on to hope, refusing to believe that she was truly gone. They kept her room as they had on the day she disappeared, a shrine to her memory filled with photos and mementos. Then, in late 2023, when all hope seemed to be lost, a retired hunter named Dale Cooper stumbled upon a derelict log cabin while exploring the woods near the place where Claire had vanished. The cabin was deep in the mountains, its windows boarded up and its roof caved in. Nobody lived here anymore, and it had been so long since anyone had visited that nature had reclaimed much of it. Vines crept up the crumbling walls, and the only sound was the whisper of the wind through the trees. Still, something about the cabin intrigued Dale, so he decided to take a closer look. As he rounded the side of the building, he noticed something odd, a pile of wood stacked neatly in front of the fireplace. It was too neat, too tidy, and something about it set off alarm bells in his mind. He pushed aside a loose board covering the chimney and peered inside. At first he didn't see anything, but then he noticed a dark shape lodged in the flue. Curiosity piqued, Dale climbed onto a nearby rock and reached inside the chimney to pull out whatever was stuck there. His fingers closed around something hard and cold. At first he thought it was a rock or maybe a piece of coal. But as he pulled it out, he realized with a jolt that it was a human skull. A chill ran down Dale's spine as realization dawned on him. This was no ordinary find. He had stumbled upon something grim and potentially very dangerous. So, trembling with a mixture of fear and determination, he called the local sheriff's department and reported his discovery. When the police arrived at the scene, they carefully removed more debris from the chimney, revealing a horrifying sight. A human torso clad in a jacket was stuck fast in the narrow space. With each piece of clothing, bone, and personal belongings recovered from the chimney, the grim reality of the situation became clearer. This was no accident. Someone had deliberately blocked the fireplace with such force that the person in the chimney had been jammed inside, unable to escape. It was a terrifying and unsettling discovery that sent shockwaves through the community. As the news spread, everyone wondered the same thing. Could this be the long-missing Claire Dawson? The possibility, though terrifying, was too good not to investigate. And so the authorities began the arduous task of extracting the remains from the chimney. It was a delicate operation that required skill and care. The remains were so tightly wedged in the chimney that it took several hours to extract them carefully. Every move they made could compromise the integrity of the evidence. Working meticulously, they managed to recover the remains without causing further damage. Once they were free of the chimney, the police immediately began the process of identifying the remains. Every step of the investigation was carefully documented and analyzed. Forensics teams combed through every inch of the cabin, searching for clues that could shed light on this disturbing discovery. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the results of the identification came back. The remains found in the chimney were confirmed to be those of Claire Dawson. It was a moment of closure for her family, yet it was tinged with sorrow and anger. With the confirmation of Claire's identity, investigators redoubled their efforts to determine how she ended up in that chimney. The question that had haunted the community for so long: what had happened to Claire Dawson? The search for answers began anew, this time with a renewed sense of urgency. Forensics experts examined every aspect of the evidence, hoping to unlock the secrets of the case. Meanwhile, detectives reached out to Claire's family, sharing their grim discovery and promising to spare no effort in finding justice for Claire. But as the investigation deepened, it became clear that the path to justice would be a long and winding one. Witnesses were interviewed, alibis checked, and every lead thoroughly investigated, yet the puzzle of Claire's death remained frustratingly incomplete. The question on everyone's mind was, who was responsible for this heinous crime and why? The tight-knit community of Montana was shaken to its core. How could such a tragedy occur in their midst, and why? As the investigation continued, the focus shifted to the dilapidated cabin. What secrets did its rotting timbers hold, and how did it connect to Claire's disappearance? The cabin became a pivotal part of the investigation. It was a silent witness to a horrific crime, and its secrets were slowly unveiled. Forensics teams discovered traces of Claire's DNA on various items inside the cabin, confirming her presence there. But the most disturbing discovery came when they found evidence of a struggle, suggesting that Claire had fought for her life. As the investigation progressed, a composite sketch of a potential suspect was released to the public. The description was based on eyewitness accounts and forensic evidence, offering a glimpse into the possible appearance of the person responsible for Claire's death. Every lead was followed, every tip called in, but the man in the sketch remained elusive, leaving investigators frustrated and the community on edge. Despite the challenges, the determination to find Claire's killer never wavered. Each piece of evidence, no matter how small, was meticulously examined and cross-referenced. Detectives revisited the crime scene, searching for any overlooked details that might offer a breakthrough. As months turned into years, the case went from a local tragedy to a national mystery. In a shocking turn of events, a break in the case came when an anonymous tip led investigators to a remote location outside of town. What they found was a vehicle that matched the description of the car seen near the cabin on the day Claire disappeared. The discovery of the car provided a crucial link between Claire and the crime scene, reinforcing the theory that she had been taken to the cabin against her will. The revelation raised more questions than it answered, but it offered a glimmer of hope that the mystery was finally beginning to unravel. As the investigation intensified, more details emerged, painting a clearer picture of what might have transpired. Witnesses came forward, sharing their stories, which, when pieced together, formed a chilling narrative. One witness recalled seeing a man matching the composite sketch struggling with Claire near the cabin. Another remembered seeing the same man driving a car matching the one later found at the remote location. These testimonies provided a crucial piece of the puzzle, establishing a timeline and motive for the crime. With the pieces of the puzzle falling into place, the police were able to reconstruct the sequence of events leading to Claire's death. Armed with this knowledge, they devised a strategy to apprehend the suspect. Undercover officers kept a close watch on the man in the sketch, documenting his every move and ensuring his safety. As the net tightened around him, the community held its breath, hoping for swift justice. The moment of confrontation arrived, and as the suspect was taken into custody, a wave of relief washed over the town. The long wait for justice was almost over. The arrest sent shockwaves through the community, as the suspect turned out to be someone known by many. The realization that such a crime could be committed by someone they once considered upstanding was unsettling. As the trial commenced, the weight of the evidence against the suspect was overwhelming. Witnesses recounted their experiences, placing the suspect at the scene of the crime. Forensic evidence linked the suspect to both the cabin and Claire's remains. The defense tried to sow doubt, but the prosecution's case was airtight. The suspect's facade of respectability crumbled, revealing the monster that lay beneath. With the trial drawing to a close, the community waited for justice to be served. As the jury delivered their verdict, the courtroom was silent, save for the judge's solemn reading of the charges. The suspect was found guilty on all counts, and as the judge handed down the sentence, a collective sigh of relief echoed through the courtroom. Justice had been served. The story doesn't end there. The impact of Claire's death resonated far beyond the courtroom. Support groups for victims of similar crimes gained prominence, providing solace to those who had suffered in silence. Memorials dedicated to Claire Dawson sprang up across the state, each serving as a reminder of her vibrant life cut short. The tragedy brought the community together, uniting them in grief and a shared determination for change. In the aftermath of the trial, Montana enacted stricter laws aimed at protecting individuals from similar fates. Awareness campaigns were launched, educating the public on personal safety and legal rights. As time passed, the wound of Claire's death began to heal, but the memory of her spirit of adventure, kindness, and resilience lived on. Her story became a beacon of hope, reminding all who knew her that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit could endure.